just imagine, you go out to eat at a nice seafood restaurant, you sit down for a nice meal, then a couple days later, you find out it is killing you. This is what's happening to a 71-year-old man in Florida. Doctors say he contracted this flesh-eating bacteria and later died after eating a bad batch of oysters. It was contaminated by this bacteria called Vibrio. It's a waterborne bacteria that is usually found in undercooked seafood. And if it's not treated, it can be very deadly. And it's more common than you think. So let's talk about this with ER physician Dr. Daria Gillespie. Thank you so much for being with me.
Lynn, so glad I could be.
So when it comes to how in the world this happens, this is not the first case we've heard. In fact, we hear about in cases of people swimming in fresh water or brackish water.
Yes.
So how does it happen?
So it's called a VibrioVulnificus, and many of our viewers may think it sounds more like a Harry Potter spell, but in fact it causes two things. It causes food poisoning or those wound infections that you talked about. So it's actually one of the more lethal forms of food poisoning, and it's very prevalent. Some studies have shown in the summer months, it's in almost all of the raw oysters in the Chesapeake Bay and the U.S. Gulf Coast.
Are there people who are more susceptible to this, or is this pretty much everyone?
I'm glad you asked this, because we can reassure everybody. It's sort of a Venn diagram. You really have to have three things to get really sick from Vibrio vulnificus. One is chronic disease, so people with chronic liver disease especially, hepatitis, cirrhosis, uncontrolled diabetes, or even chronic kidney disease. So that's number one. You number two have to be exposed, either an open wound or you ate raw shellfish. And number three, it needs to be things from brackish, warm water. Have all those three things, then you need to be careful and concerned.
What about what ways we can prevent this? I mean, should we just not eat shellfish in the summer months?
So that's
impossible, right? Because you go to the beach and you're like, I want oysters.
So I know, right? Well, so a couple things. Yes, number one is prevention. So no raw oysters in the summer months, according to the CDC. You can have them cooked, and there's many ways. So maybe I'm even saying have your fried oysters. I never thought I would say that, but in the summer months, you want to be very careful. And number two, if you do have any of those chronic conditions and have an open wound, don't go in the ocean or in brackish water. And then if those things happen, if you get exposed or you get cut, come out of the water and wash it really well. We say in medicine that the solution to pollution is dilution. Wash it really, really well, even with just tap water, and then watch for the symptoms. If you have any symptoms that come on within 24 hours, get to a doctor and let them know.
So this isn't something where you'd open up an oyster and it would smell and you would know.
No, you do not
There's
know
no
anything.
sign
There's
that
nothing.
this is there.
Exactly. And some places you say, well, they treated their oysters before you eat them raw, but according to the CDC, they say that that still does not eliminate the bacteria. So really, in any month that doesn't have an R in it, in these summer months especially, no raw shellfish.
Any month that doesn't have an R in it. That's what I learned today.
There you go.
Dr. Gillespie, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. It's good to see you.